we are up for cycle 3, which is going to start this Wednesday, September 2nd. And remember, our cycle is Wednesday to Tuesday, so you will have until September the 8th to complete the items that Mr. Murray, Ms. Potts, and myself are about to review with you. So beginning of every cycle, the first thing we should get in the habit of doing is going over here to weekly agendas. We're now here, just kidding, here for cycle 3. I moved them up, I figured that would be easier. When you download this item, it should pull up your weekly agenda. At the top are the items we're going to be focusing on skill-wise. So really looking at determining word meaning, looking at using appropriate resources like dictionary functions, a lot of emphasis on capitalization rules. What you guys should definitely care about is this section here, the activities, and this is the first week that we're getting into school's PLP. So I will show you where the icon is one more time. But we're focusing on lesson 1, word meanings based upon roots. Lesson 4, inferring word meanings, and you'll see a lot of analogies in there. And then finally, lesson 5, handwriting and capitalization. What is especially important is this section where it talks about assessments. That's a fancy way of grades. We need to know that you know how to do this work. So with lesson 1, there's going to be 8 comprehension questions. All of these items you're going to notice are going to earn you 10 points each. Lesson 4, 12 comprehension questions. And then lesson 5 you'll want to pay attention to because you're going to get 2 grades in that unit. So you'll get a grade for completing 10 comprehension questions in the lesson. And then there's something after it that's going to say lesson 5 activity. And there are 4 questions over capitalization rules. And Mr. Morway is going to make sure you know what that is. So that's our weekly agenda. Going back into Blackboard, any items that you may need for this quarter, the cycle, are under cycle 3. Guided notes is something that we're definitely going to be using a lot in our sessions together. And when you download that, it's this Word document. I have a print off here. Hopefully you've had an English teacher walk it into your lab. If not, pull this up. If you have a printer, print it off and use that copy, or just digitally. There are some ways that you could be typing notes in. So this will not get you a grade. We're not going to collect this. However, this will help your grades. There are definitions in here, example questions that are going to come up in those comprehension questions for each lesson. And then especially when we get to the end of this unit, there are 4 lessons that we will cover with a quiz from all of those. And you get to use these notes on that final quiz. So this definitely does help your grades if you're doing it. So we want to make sure you're using it. We will talk about these in our Zoom session, so it's very important. So those are the items in Blackboard that you should be aware of. To get to school's PLP, you should be going in through your Centrify, which is an icon on your desktop. Okay, so it should be this white and red circle, or if you click on that little chameleon, the adaptive, and make sure you're logged in. Those are 2 ways that you can get to school's PLP. You may need to type in PLP in either place, but it's going to be this little chalkboard icon. All right, in lesson 1, they're really going to focus on word meanings, and this word here, etymology. Etymology is the study of words, and there'll be some word parts that we look at later. So how we have gotten the words that we have, where they came from. For this particular lesson, I personally thought it was really helpful to go ahead and scroll down past a few of these topics and preview the first chunk of 4 questions that they're going to ask you, especially this question here, number 2. Order the steps in the English language's development, 1 being the first step, up to 6 being the last. So I would kind of skim through, and you'll notice a lot of these dates pop up. So as you're reading, I would use the highlighter feature up top here, and as you're going through this section, anytime you see something with dates, you start to highlight those. So that's a good tip to use for this section. Once you're past that first chunk, you have these terms and definitions, and that's where if you're using these guided notes and the word bank at the top, these should pretty much be done for you. So you're going to be filling those in, but you also get to use this later on the quiz, and some of these words will probably be coming back, hint, hint. You'll have another chunk that's looking at prefixes, suffixes, base words, with a few more comprehension questions. Lots of parts of words. And then you're going to be filling those in. So something I think is really helpful for this last question, question 8, and there's a section on your notes where I ask you to do a Control F to kind of help you figure out which of these word parts will help you answer these questions. So let me model that for you. The first word is, or prefix, is thermo. So on your keyboard, if you hit Control F, that's going to pull up a find feature. I'm going to type in thermo. And right here, you guys probably can't see it from here, but it went right to thermo, which means heat. So I would jot those down. I'm having you Control F, finding parts of words that are going to help you with that last set of questions. Question 8, and that's where lesson 1 ends.
Hi everybody, I'm Mrs. Potts and I'm going to walk you through Unit 1, Lesson 4 this week. You'll see that this week, Unit 4, or Lesson 4, sorry, is inferring word meanings. We're going to be working on how to navigate through vocabulary and also analogies. Make sure please that you have your notes handy because they will come in useful for you, okay? I want to draw your attention please to the vocabulary. Unit-specific vocabulary from analogy to denotation. Okay, those are going to be words that you're going to have to know to navigate the unit. Okay, after that, from draw on down, words like infer and instigator and gregarious. Those are going to help you with some of your activities. Okay, so make sure you run it into any of the words that you don't know. Check back with the vocabulary section at the beginning. Okay, all right, I'm going to scroll you on down to the actual lesson to help you determine the meaning of an unknown word. You can read through the notes that they have for you. They give you 4 different methods, okay, for working your way through determining meanings of words. You might want to use the prefixes or the suffixes, context clues, cognates. Okay, so make sure you read through that. Schools POP also gives you a video that you can utilize if that's going to help you. If you have trouble hearing it or you would prefer to read, you can read the transcript right there, okay? All right, and then we're going to get into the content of the actual lesson. We're going to spend a lot of time in this lesson on analogies. Analogies just mean relationships between 2 words, okay, or groups of words. So read through those notes, and then you'll see what that means more specifically, okay? Then Schools POP also breaks down for you sentence form analogies right here, okay, ways that you might see it presented in a sentence or in relationships with colons. So it kind of takes out the unnecessary words and just breaks it down into a relationship for you, okay? They even break down for you what it means if there's just 1 colon or 2. 1 colon means is to, 2 colons means this relationship is equal, it's equivalent, okay? Here are the different types of analogies: part to whole, part to whole to part. Antonyms and synonyms, those are things that you will see commonly when you're talking about analogies. You can just read through those examples. They tell you very specifically what this means, how they're breaking it down, and then they really also explain their answers for you. So make sure you highlight that information as you go through. Okay. Then more complex analogies might give you actual, like gregarious to reclusive, is to, and then you have to choose the partnership, the 2 words that come together to create that same relationship. Okay, don't worry, I give you a solution and it's very clear, so that helps. Please make sure that you're reading the examples, okay? They really help you. All right, sorry about that. Okay. There are lots of types of analogies. These are in your notes, your guided notes, so make sure you're using the ones that were handed out to you and also the ones that are posted on Blackboard. Okay, you'll see type, cause and effect, and functions. All right. Remember when I highlighted the vocabulary words? Unit-specific vocabulary words are denotation and connotation. You can scroll back all the way up to the top and catch those unit-specific vocabulary words. You can watch a video for more examples, watch the download the transcript so you can read it. They then break down for you denotation versus connotative meaning. Okay, so the dictionary definition versus more feeling words. Lots of information to help you navigate through that. Alright, and then here's the moment you've all been waiting for. When you get to the questions that you actually have to do, we want to highlight for you. Number one is really weird, okay? It's a nut is to a bolt as glue is to what? So what is the relationship there? And we thought that that was a little bit difficult. So a nut goes into or onto a bolt as glue goes into or onto paper. And you can use your process of elimination to see that it's not a race, it's not a tree, it's not forceful, it's not holder. This is your more specific example that you want to choose. Okay? You then have 9 more questions, so 10 analogies there. If you get stuck, remember always go back up to the vocabulary, or if you need to look up something, you can open a new Google tab and look it up, okay, for your definitions. When you've completed this assignment, always be mindful you want to save and exit if you need to leave, or when you're done, you're going to submit all answers.
All right, everybody. For lesson number 5, there are 2 focus areas. The first being handwriting and terminology related to handwriting, and capitalization rules, so specifically usage of mechanics. So the very first section, just like Miss Godfrey's section, very important, you have key vocabulary. So if you have this note sheet with you, the top fill in the blank directly related to these key vocabulary terms. So keep that in mind, very important, will help you on the quiz. Scrolling down, you'll have a breakdown of those specific words and how they are used and what they mean. Scrolling further down, here's where it gets a little bit tricky because you have a lot of situations where words need to be capitalized. Keep in mind that the wheel at the bottom of your notes summarizes a lot of these rules. Not every single one of them, but the ones that you'll need for the actual quiz. So you'll have everything from capitalizing abbreviations to specific names like Mr. Murway or Miss Godfrey or your first and last name, all the way to Cincinnati and where you live. And we've noticed that on the quiz itself, these are some more unique situations where other proper nouns and adjectives get capitalized in a phrase. So pay very close attention to this italicized section. And then your first assignment that you get points for lesson 5, is a 10-question quiz in this big yellow box at the very bottom of the lesson. So quick glance, you have up to 10 questions, some matching, some multiple choice, related to all of those rules that I just showed you and highlighted for you. So going back, your guided notes and your examples that I'll go over on Wednesday will include 4 and 5. So if you're following along and filling in the blank and jotting down notes, these 2 will be answered. However, I want to show you an example of another question in addition and how I would approach it if I were you taking this assessment. So if number 7 says, select the rule by which of the following words are capitalized, and then I have the phrase Boeing Strato Cruiser. Again, not 100% sure, I'm not an airplane guy, so I don't know exactly what that means. However, here's what I do know. Boeing meaning company, and Strato Cruiser meaning a type of something that that company makes, airplane. So what I would do is look at my choices, realizing that it's definitely not a political party, a metal, and then get closer down to the bottom, not a school subject, where I have either airplane name or company name, and I would be selecting airplane name, and this is how I double check. I go back up, and this is what you should be doing. Thinking back about what I just went through, and there was a specific section in the italicized area related to that specific question. So after you've answered all 10 questions, you are essentially done with the lesson assessment. However, there is a second assessment related to capitalization on the very next tab in the PLP. So to find that, you're just gonna hit next, and you will have 4 questions related to capitalization for number 1, capitalization for number 2, number 3, and number 4. So every single one of those questions are all related to capitalization, only but it will have multiple phrases and words that need to be capitalized. So make sure you are using your wheel and chart at the bottom, because that will definitely help you on whether or not an airplane name or something unique like Athens or Sparta comes up and you need to know if it should be capitalized or not.